Daf Kuf Chav Vav on the base, 9 lines from the top. Dorish Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Pischad Reish Kalusa Hidash and then you said halacha Rabbi Eliezer. The halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer, that in order to insert the shutter into the window, it has to be both tied and suspended. It has to be dangling. It can't reach all the way to the ground. Masiv Rav Amram Yastakasha. We learn from Mishnah later. We have the Mishnah at the end of the Masechet that says, from their words we can learn out with. So the case over there is they wanted to stop up an opening between two areas that had an opening. They wanted to stop it up and close it up so the tumah would not pass from one dwelling to the other dwelling. So you can learn out from there that you can close up an opening. So you see from there that it does not have to be tied, that you can close it up. And over there also they have the case that you can take, if there is a opening as a skylight of an opening, and to see if the tumah went up and was oila, you can put in tie with a temporary knot. With a temporary knot, you can tie it and a cup to it, and see if it cup, which was a tefach, to see if the opening was a measurement of a tefach, if the tumah would be oila. So you can learn out that paikikim you can close up and might have measure and kaishim b'Shabbos and tie on Shabbos. So therefore, you see that l'chayr the halach is not like Rabbi Eliezer. Amar leah by my daitach mishum dektanis stoma. Why should you say that the halacha is like that Mishnah? Because it's a stam Mishnah, so that's why you're assuming that that's the halacha, and therefore you say that paikikim, nagar and nigra, nami stami. Nagar and nigra is also a stam Mishnah, and nagar and nigra over there is a stam Mishnah, and therefore we should learn out that the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer. Afilacha ma'aser rav. Then it's Maisa, nevertheless, is a greater indication. The Maisa, by the Mishnah, by the end of the Masechet that talks about the Midivrayim Lamanu Shapaikim Amaitim is Midivrayim Lamanu. There was a Maisa over there at the time of Me'aviv Shalot Sarik Me'aviv Shal Ben Batnis. That was a Maisa. The fact that they did a Maisa shows you that that's halacha. So that therefore, even though the Nagar HaNigar is said and without an author, and therefore it's istam, but nevertheless Maisa Rav, and that's why we paskin that it is mutter. Zok the Mishnah, kol kisi, there is a summer nagar is kol, but the nagar is just kisi. Kisi kelim sheish lam beis achizah. So this is what we learned previously, that kelim lids, covering for kelim that have a handle, nitolim b'Shabbos, they can be handled on Shabbos. If the lids have a handle, remember kisa karkoyas, that's only when it's something with an opening in the ground. That's, for instance, there's a bore, a dus, there is a pit, a cistern, you want to cover it, there you need a handle. But if it's kisa kalim for utensils, you don't need to have a handle over there. The requirement of a handle is only for coverings for openings in the ground. Where do we say that the kisui kalim are nitolim if they have a teres kli aleim? As you recall, we learned previously that some machlekes Rashi and Taisus. Rashi learns that they have to independently, aside from being coverings for the kalim, for lids for the kalim, they have to have an independent use. Taisus says that's not required. If they are coverings for kalim, that is a use, and that is a function in itself. He says what it's talking about is usually yesh teres kli. If it's something that was not used previously as a covering for a kli, you have to do a maisa to designate it as a kli. That's Rav Yochanan Shita. But as you recall, we learned earlier that halachos like Shimon Gamliel, who says no, that it's mesukan, just a designation. Mentally, that is enough. The kuli alma kisu kakois. Everyone holds that if they're kisui for karkois, if you have a bore, a dos, if you have a pit, and if you want to cover it over there, everyone agrees that you need a handle. Because since it's on the ground, it has the appearance of being boina. If you put it there, or for moving it, it has the appearance of being slicer, since it's something that's onto the ground. It has a handle, it's clear that this is only temporary, it's only a temporary covering, and you're not building, so it's mutter. But without the handle, it has the appearance of being boina, and it's also. So therefore, everyone agrees that kisu karkois miyesh beisachini loy loy kisu kelim, if they're stam utensils, regular utensils, you don't need a base, you don't need a handle. Everyone agrees that regular kelim you don't need a handle. Ki pligi bekelim the chavrinim ba'ara. The machlekes is by kelim that are attached to the ground, that you attached to the ground. Marsavar gazrina, marsavar loy gazrina, and that's the machlekes. One holds that gazrina or geyser because seif kol seif is attached to the ground. The other one says they're kalim, so it's clear that it's not boina, and therefore you don't need a handle. Lishna achrina, a different lotion is keep pligi bekisei tona. Mar medama lekisei karka, umar medama lekisei kalim. Lishna achrina is that the machlekes is by a tanner. Now a tanner in those days was a earthenware cylinder that was inserted in the ground. Mars medamala kisa karka, it's similar to the karka and it's geyser. And mar medamala kisa kalim, and you're not geyser. Now Taisus learns that this is essentially that what we learned before, there's no nafkamina between the two. It's just in the way it's expressed in the lashon that is mentioned. But the point is, if something is a keli that's not inserted into the ground, then it's mutter. If it's inserted into the ground, the machlekes dori geyser, just like we're being geyser coverings on the ground itself. Other Rishonim and the Rif learns not that way, that there is a nafkamina. The nafkamina is if you have kalim that are partially inserted into the ground and partially protruding. According to the first lashon, it's only kalim that are inserted into the ground. But if you'd have a tanur where the lip of the tanur protrudes from the ground, extends beyond the ground, then that would not be considered like kisuk or kois, wouldn't need a lid. According to the second lashon, that would also be part of the machlekes, even though it's partially above the ground, but since it's inserted, the base of it is inserted into the ground, it's also machlekes whether we're geyser on that case is not. Does it look like kisui karkois? Hadullah kol kelim, hadullah kol kelim, hadullah kol kelim. Zok the Mishnah, mefanim afil arba b'chamesh kupa shel teven v'shel tvua. You can clear away on Shabbos 4 or 5 boxes of teven, of straw, and tefillin grain, b'bnei orachin, u'bnei bittel beis hamedrash. If the purpose is for achnasas orachim, you need space, you need more, greater area here. For the mitzvah achnasas orachim or bittel beis hamedrash, you need an area to clear an area away so that Talmidim can learn the beis hamedrash. It's a dvar mitzvah. Normally, we would not allow you to do this tircha, but since it's a dvar mitzvah, we allow this tircha on Shabbos. Avalo yes eitzer, but we do not allow you to clear away a warehouse. We'll see in the Gemara what the issue over here is. And why is 4 or 5? The Gemara will discuss 4 or 5. This will be discussed in the Gemara. So we allow you for the Dvar Mitzvah to be matriach for these items. It's provided that they are not muksa. We allow you to do this tircha for Dvar Mitzvah. If it's not a Dvar Mitzvah, so it's mashma from the Ran, and that you can't do anything. If you're not a Dvar Mitzvah, you can't be matriach. It's mashma from the Rambam that a minimal amount that you could, 1 or 2 boxes, not a large amount. How heavy are these boxes? How large are these boxes? Rashi says they're a standard amount. Taisa says, based on the Yerushalmi, that each box could contain 3 soin. So now the Mishnah lists items that you could be mefana that are not muksa, that are mutter be mefana, and items that you cannot, that are muksa. And the Gemara will discuss in greater detail what the chiddush of each of them are and why the Mishnah has to mention them. So mefanim truma tahira, truma which is tahor, so that's obviously edible, and you can be mefan of that. Therefore, you can clear it away. Udemai and demai as well. Now, even though a demai cannot, you buy a tefua from an Amar Aretz, the Rabban or geyser that you cannot eat it unless you're mafish the maestros first, we're machmir to assume that b'chayshish that they were not mafresh l'maasras. Nevertheless, they could be cleared away. It's not considered muksa. We'll see why in the Gemara. Ma'aser rishon shenitl trumos, and ma'aser rishon, if from the produce 10% was given away to the Levi, and nitla trumasa, and the trumas ma'aser was taken from it. That's the pasha pshat. And if that, according to that explanation, then of course it's hulin. Of course it's mutter. Why does the Mishnah have to mention it? The Gemara will discuss what the case is, what the chiddush is. Ma'aser sheni v'hektar shenift. And if you have ma'aser sheni and hektar, so you paid them. Now, if you're paid them, if you redeem them, it's mutter. You can eat it outside of Yerushalayim. Again, the Gemara will discuss the chiddush. Turmas hayavish, and dry turmas. Dry turmusim, the type of beans, they're not considered muksa. Because even though it's not for human consumption, and even though most animals won't eat it, but goats will, so therefore it's not muksa. But you can't be mefana tevel. Tevel, produce that there was no afresh of trumas and maises, you can't eat it, so therefore it's muksa. V'loy as ma'aser rishon shaloi nitl trumas, and not ma'aser rishon where the truma was not removed from it, because the trumas ma'aser was not removed, because then it has a din of tevel, it can't be eaten. Again, choretz pasha, we'll see in the Gemara. V'loy is ma'aser sheni v'hektar shaloi niftu, and not ma'aser sheni v'hektar if you weren't pointed. If you weren't pointed, you can't eat it outside of Yerushalayim. V'loy as aluv, and you can also, luf is considered also to be muksa. It's even animals won't eat it in the raw state. So it's a type of vegetable that even animals will not eat it. Not mustard. Mustard also, unless you grind it up and you prepare it, it's not suitable for human consumption nor for animals either. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel matir beloiv, but he was matir with loiv mipnei shu ma'achal orvim, because it's fed to the ravens. So why is that make it mutter, not muksa? So Rashi explains, because very wealthy people would raise ravens and feed them. That was considered a status symbol, and therefore it is not muksa. Chavili kash, bundles of kash, of stubble, of the straw. Chavili eitzim, bundles of twigs. Chavili zrodin, or reeds, or soft reeds. If they were set aside to be fed to the animals, it's not muksa, and you can be metaltal. But if not, you can't be metaltal. If not, it's muksa. So the Mishnah, the Mishnah said, "Mefan mafil arba v'chamish kupas v'four 4 or 5 boxes." Fact the Gemara has to chamish mefanim arba mibaya. If you can do 5, why do you say 4? What's 4 or 5? If 5 is mutter, if you can even be matriach for 5, why mention 4? Rav Chizr says, arba mechamish. If there is a total in the area of 5 boxes, you can clear away 4 of them, but not all 5. You can clear away 4, but you have to leave something there. You can't clear it all away. You can do arba ma'itzer katan and chamish ma'itzer godel. And some say what it means is 4 from a small area, that if it's a small area, then you can clear out 4, meaning if there's 5 boxes, you can clear 4 of it. And chamish ma'itzer godel, and if it's an area which has more than 5, then even though you have more than 5, and if you clear about 5, there's still something left, it's not going to be completely emptied out, but still you have a cap, you have a maximum that you can only clear out 5 and not more. What does it mean that you can't take it from a storage area? If you have not started to remove items from the storage area or from the warehouse, you cannot initiate it on Shabbos. The process cannot be begun on Shabbos. Umani, and who's this going? According to Rabbi Yehuda, the Islam muksa. It's going on to the Rishit of Rabbi Yehuda that holds a muksa. So therefore, items which in a storage area, now even though you have not actively been makatzit, set it aside and put it away for non-use, but you have not designated for use either, you haven't started to use it, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it would be considered muksa. So according to this approach, it's as follows. Number 1, you cannot completely clear out the area. You can't completely clear out the area because we're afraid that if you completely empty out the area, the entire floor will be exposed. You'll see perhaps holes on the ground, and those days they had earthen floors, and you'll come to level it, and which is a malacha of baina. So you can't level out the ground completely. So therefore, you can do 4 if there are 5 boxes left over, so that you're not completely clearing out the area. Now, according to the second lashon, there's another criteria is that you have a cap that in any event you can't do more than 5 boxes, because that is a tircha yisera, that's excessive. So that is according to that. Now there's a dion in the paiskim. What about if you clear out all 5, but you don't expose the floor? There's a thin layer of produce or of food that's on the bottom level, and the floor is not exposed, but all of the boxes are cleared out. It's just that there's straw or grain or whatever it is that is on the bottom of the floor, even a thin layer that's not exposing the floor, then that is a diyan in the paiskim. Now there's another restriction is lo yasaitzer, is that you cannot initiate the clearing out from a warehouse or storage area, because it's going according to the Rishita of Rav Yehuda that would be considered muksa. That is the way Rav Chisda learns. And he learns the Mishnah going according to Rav Yehuda. Ushmuel Amar, he says, no, he doesn't mean that. It means Arba v'chamesh, when it says 4 or 5 boxes, Kedam Reishi, it's just the expression, it's the way people express it. It doesn't mean literally 4 out of 5. And if he wants to, he can clear away even more. It's not a limitation out of 4 or 5. What does it mean? It means is that lo yasaitzer means that you can't completely clear it away. Meaning 4 or 5, it's not a limitation of 4 and only 4 or 5. There's no limitation. There can be even more. However, lo yasaitzer means you can't clear it away completely. There you can't come to the why? Because he agrees with this restriction, because maybe the floor will be exposed, there'll be holes, and you come to level it out. But there's no limit, no restriction that you cannot initiate, that you cannot begin to clear out the Eitzer. That he does not hold of Umani or Shimon Leslie Muksa, because it's going on the sheet of Rav Shimon, who doesn't hold of Muksa. Meaning of Shimon is not as Chol Machmir in the dinim of Muksa. He doesn't have the broad interpretation of Muksa that Rav Yehuda has, and according to Rav Shimon, therefore, even if the storage area, nothing was cleared out before, but he's not mekatza das from it, he doesn't want to put it away and put it aside, he doesn't want to put it out of his machshava, out of his use, and therefore, according to Rav Shimon, would not be considered Muksa. Therefore, you could initiate and start taking from a storage area that wasn't taken from before. Therefore, lo yasaitzer cannot mean that. So lo yasaitzer means you can't clear it away completely. Well, if lo yasaitzer means you can't clear it away completely, what does 4 or 5 mean? 4 or 5 does not mean like the way Rav Chisda learns it 4 out of 5, and not all 5, because that's lo yasaitzer. So 4 or 5 means good amrach. It's an expression 4 or 5. Meaning it can be even more than 4 or 5, as long as lo yasaitzer, as long as you don't clear it away completely, as long as you don't empty it out and clear out the Eitzer completely.